Hey everybody, today is a very exciting day. Today is the first day I have an athlete racing since the pandemic and COVID hit. And so I'm super excited. She is doing a race down in Monticello, Utah, which is just south of Moab. 8,000 feet of climbing, 50K distance. So stay tuned on how that goes. Super excited to kind of get back into the race season a little bit. And it's never realized how much I would miss my athletes racing like this. So it's a good day. I'm also out on a nice recovery ride on the Warbird today. It's beautiful. It's really warm, and thought I would get out for an early morning ride tomorrow. Or later this afternoon, I have a hard hill climb just around the neighborhood to continue to practice my power hiking for my race in September. Yesterday, I had a breakthrough workout. I've been aiming for this all spring and training really hard for it. I was out at the resort, Jackson Hole Mountain Resort, and did my first 3,000 foot climb up the mountain there. And I did this interval style between 5 to 10 minute intervals up the 3,000 feet of climbing. And I felt great. Like I said, this was a breakthrough workout, something I've been kind of aiming for to gauge where I'm at, gauge all the new things I'm doing this year. And I really find that my shorter, harder intervals this year have really helped my climbing. This workout, I essentially increased my heart rate threshold by 5 beats, which is pretty huge. And I'm just really excited how I felt without a lot of long climbs this year. So that's what's been new this year. I've kind of avoided doing long, easy climbs and replaced them with shorter, much harder intervals as my 5-year plan. This is year 4 if you've been following along on the channel. And again, those shorter efforts have really helped improve my climbing in general, my threshold, how I felt. It was just a spectacular workout. So I'm super pumped. And it's going to feed into kind of what we're going to talk about later today. But last week I posted a nutritional video and got obviously a lot of comments and questions about that. And with nutrition, there's just not a lot of black and white. And what I thought of, instead of kind of just pumping out specific videos on nutrition, that I would begin some of the videos with what I'm doing, what my athletes do on any given situation, to kind of guide you along and maybe find what works best for you. Because again, nutrition is a lot of personal experimentation and going with some principles and then finding what works best for you. And I think this will be a better approach than to just kind of dive into a lot of questions. So as I mentioned, yesterday was a very hard workout for me. 3,000 feet of climbing. I did 12 miles, essentially 3,000 feet up and then running back down. And what I did that morning, about an hour before the run, I had a bowl of oatmeal with fruit, bananas, raspberries, blueberries, dates, and a little bit of walnuts. And that was my pre-run meal, with the aim of going more carbohydrate heavy, because the workout was going to be longer, on the longer side, and very intense. So my body's fuel requirements for this intense workout is going to be carbohydrate driven. So I wanted to preload with a carbohydrate heavy meal before that run. And again, it worked great. I find that oatmeal works good for me. I also will sometimes do rice, but oatmeal is kind of my go-to when I haven't spent the time to make some rice, maybe the night before. So it worked great. I felt great. No issues whatsoever. I was just dialed. I felt strong the whole time. Immediately following my workout, got back to the truck. I had a bottle of SOS handy. I found that because my intuitive sense my coaching sense is that, you know, I have a lot of fast twitch muscle fibers in my body, and therefore I burn a little hot, and therefore I've found that for me, I lose a lot of electrolytes. So I have to really be more conscious of during a hard workout or in the hot weather and afterwards of really replacing my electrolytes. For me, sometimes that's more important than even calories. So hydration and electrolytes are very important for me. And that's just something that I've found that someone that's maybe has a little leaner constitution, body composition, that maybe doesn't have quite the muscle definition that my type of body has, might not have that issue. They might need to focus more on the calories. So again, just I found that this is what I need. So got back to the truck after the hard workout, really started sipping on the SOS. The reason I like SOS is it's very high in sodium, and it really helps replenish, start really helping my recovery immediately once I get back to the truck. And I also carried it with me on the run. Didn't have any calories on the run, but I had my SOS with me. Then that evening, I had a big plate of pad thai, lots of veggies, tofu, and the pad thai noodles. And I don't do noodles often, but with a workout like this, it felt good and something I wanted to. I just kind of, my body craved that. So again, I don't do noodles a lot, or hardly ever do pasta, but this, I had a big plate of pad thai. Continuing with the carbohydrate focus. My body needed to replace that carbohydrates, and as I mentioned in the last video on the nutrition last week, is that I needed to replace my muscle glycogen that takes about 24 to 48 hours to restore. So protein doesn't do that. Protein will help the muscle breakdown, but I needed a lot of carbohydrates to restore my muscles after that very intense workout to help speed my recovery. So then this morning, I'm out for a 2-hour ride, very easy recovery ride. And what I did for breakfast this morning is I had 2 eggs, a green chili tamale with some mushrooms. So more on fat, protein, and a little less carbohydrates it's just kind of, again, what I've found that my body craves the day of a recovery ride. And so I'm out for my 2-hour recovery ride, just nice touring around, enjoying the sights and roads of Jackson Hole. So that's kind of what I did. Again, that's what I find works for me. Take that, build upon it, and find what works for you. So now getting back to what I really want to dive into today is that I got a question on YouTube from a runner. Her name is Denise. She's 71 years old, and she basically commented how much she's enjoying the channel and how much it's been helpful. And if I had any tips or comments, advice on how maybe older runners can continue to improve, and just any tips. So she was new to running at age 71, super excited, doing lots of 5Ks, and really looking to improve, and just super stoked on running. And it was so great to hear. And so what I got to thinking is, instead of maybe, again, just pumping out tips, is that how can I make this appeal to everybody? And so I got to thinking is that, you know, longevity in running requires a couple traits that we all need to do, regardless of our age, regardless of how long we've been doing it, or if we're just starting. And so I want to dive into 2 aspects of longevity. And again, as you'll hear me say, longevity means performance, always improving, feeling good as we age, feeling better the more we run. So longevity goes into a lot of elements that we all need to be concerned about, regardless of the type of runner we are. And there's 2 aspects I want to talk about today. One's physical and one's more psychological or mindset based. So the first one is, when we age, as we all get older, again, we're not immune to getting older, two things start to happen is that we start to decrease our VO2 max capacity, or meaning our bodies become less and less efficient using oxygen for fuel, which is a very key element for endurance, for runners, for any type of aerobic type of activity. The other thing that starts to happen is that we start to lose muscle density and muscle mass in general, and therefore strength. Okay, and that's what generally will happen as we age for all of us. So how do we combat that? Intensity. Look to always include high intensity training within your running. And this doesn't matter if you race or not, doesn't matter the distance you race. If you're an ultra marathoner, or if you're a 5K like Denise, maybe she'll go up to a half marathon in her pursuits. It doesn't matter. Intensity is going to improve our longevity as a runner. And when I talk about intensity, we're looking at anywhere from 15 seconds, maybe up to 3 minutes of hard, fast efforts that we can vary throughout the year. And it's going to also improve our performance regardless of the type of races that we do. You know, I go back to talking about Meredith, who's racing today. She's doing a 50K, 8,000 feet of climbing. We're always doing intensity, okay? And throughout the year, to maintain this type of energy system that's so good for the body, so good for us as runners. So, again, regardless of the type of runner you are, always look to include high intensity once or twice a week. You know, maybe on once a week during very high volume times, but I don't want to get into specifics, but the idea is that we're talking about longevity. How do you maintain longevity? And it's always continuously maintaining some type of hard, fast intensity within your program. And ideally, maybe that's hills. So now you've reduced the level of impact on your body. So the more you can use hills within this, the better. Use stairs, get creative, you know, but the idea is to keep that high intensity as we go through our running career. And again, keep in mind, I'm going to leave it with this, is that most dysfunction that takes place in runners takes place when we're running long and easy, and or when we're running long and moderate. So take that for what it's worth. If you think running fast, short, and hard is detrimental. Most of the times when we run fast and short, we have better form, we use more muscle mass, we use more muscles, we become more efficient. So take on the concept that most dysfunction takes place when we're running easy and when we're running moderate. Moderate is just mediocrity in disguise. So we really have to pick and choose when we run moderate. And that's always relative to the race that you're racing. All right, so now let's move into our mindset for longevity. We talked about the physical. Now, what's the mindset? How can we remain excited about running as we do this for longer and longer periods of time? How do we get excited about going out the door when we've done this for 20 years? How do we maintain that excitement? It's understanding that there's always a way for you to get better. Always a way for you to get better. Regardless of, again, how old we get, there's always a way to get better. Whether it's changing distances, whether it's varying what you're doing, whether it's doing more intensity, whether it's getting better, more recovery, slowing your long runs down and increasing your higher end. There's always a way to get better as we age. Don't get brainwashed into thinking as we start to get to a certain age, there's no way to get better. It's bollocks. It's bollocks. Okay? And it's my goal that this channel is the way for you to understand all the little things that can really help you get better as we age, as we improve, as we do different races. Okay, so remain excited. Understand that there's always a way to get better. And maybe I always reference kind of native runners, and I say, find a higher purpose for your running. You know, the Native Americans, they ran as a ceremony, as a ritual, as a form of community. So try to find a higher purpose for yourself in your running, whether it's raising money for charity, or setting an example for your kids at home, setting an example for your coworkers. Okay, you don't have to preach it, just do it. Okay, but find that higher purpose. All right, I'm gonna leave you there. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm jumping back on the Warbird, headed downhill, finishing up my ride, and then hitting some climbing tonight. So thanks as always for watching. I really appreciate it. So it's a pleasure to have all the interaction that's going on in this channel. So keep it coming. We'll see you next time. See ya.